Jordan.
Hello, everybody. I'm Fred Joyner. I am the Poet Laureate of Carrboro. I have the honor of being the Poet Laureate of Carrboro. And just so glad that we could be together and still experience poetry even during this pandemic. And I think, especially during this pandemic, poetry is providing for us a balm and some solace for the times that we're in. I'm going to share a few poems with you. Um, some will be mine, and one or two will probably be by someone else. To be honest, I haven't been writing much lately because life has been really been challenging, and so I've been leaning on the words of so many of my poet friends, and or if people or poets that I at least imagine are my poet friends, even if I've never met them. And so I'm going to open with a poem by Lucille Clifton. She's written this is a book of poems that just came out that was put together by another amazing poem, Aracelis Girmay. Um, it's called How to Carry Water. It's a selected poems, and it's got poems in it that have been unpublished and that you can't find anywhere else. And so I'm going to open with this poem that I was just flipping through, and it just struck me because it so typifies in the kind of work that that Miss Lucille uh, gave us, the gift that she gave us. It's called Study the Masters. Study the Masters. Like my Aunt Timmy, it was her iron or one like hers that smoothed the sheets the master poet slept on. Home or hotel, what matters is he lay himself down on her handiwork and dreamed. She dreamed too. Words, some Cherokee, some Maasai, some huge and particular as hope. If you had heard her chanting as she ironed, you would understand form and line and discipline and order and America. I mean, I can't say enough about Mama Lucille, Miss Lucille. She's an ancestor now, um, and her work has been kind of a guidepost for me in a lot of ways as I've moved through my my experience of trying to grapple with poems. Um, Mama Lucille, Miss Lucille is a builder. She was a builder of worlds. I mean, some people don't know she was just as an accomplished children's writer as she was a poet, and so she affected so many lives and so many poets. So many of us uh, are still kind of just moving, and her work is generating more work in us. Um, I'm going to read a poem that I wrote some time ago. It's called The Builders, and there's a lot of different things that went into this poem, but the primary drivers were Jacob Lawrence, the artist Jacob Lawrence, and he had this series of paintings that he did on builders, on workers. And one of the set of workers he did were builders, people who built buildings, and then also Diego Rivera. Um, I've seen images of his work, the murals and stuff like that, but I've never seen it in person. And so I was just, and then it's also inspired by driving through DC. If anybody's been to DC, there's just been rapid kind of like building and and gentrification that went along with the building. And so I often thought about the people that were building these buildings, and renovating all these super expensive homes. And this poem came to the builders. Our hands speak the language of artifacts. Under a Saturday sun, we obey the call of our hands. The burn of builders aching in your palms, the breath of story, tellers stirring in mine. We build to leave the world different than how we enter. Leave evidence. A syllable is a brick. A single word is on a page. Oh, I'm sorry. A syllable is a brick. A single word on a page is a monument in the face of a white horizon meant to erase us. Um, so speaking of erasing, um, today just we're filming this on what would be uh, Columbus Day. I choose to honor the indigenous. So this is Indigenous Peoples Day. I choose to acknowledge that and observe that in honor of the people who lived on this land, all over this land before many of us either got here or were brought here, stolen here. And so this is a little kind of experimental thing that I've been playing around with. I decided to take some risks and read some work that I'm challenging myself to during this pandemic to do that. So this is a poem, and it's entitled "Land," and it looks like this. It looks like that. It's hard to see. If you want to see it, I'll give you my email address, and I'll send it to you. And it's a meditation on land, in particular the United States and any stolen, occupied piece of land. Land. First, plan, learn, plant, food, supplant, a people, a nation, plan, another nation, a notion, plant, fear, plant or spill blood, plan, labor, harvest, steal, import, labor, plan, plant, plant, build, birth of a nation, plantation. So I guess this little group of poems that I'm reading here are kind of related in a way. I think there's a thread here. I invite you to send me an email. Let's talk about it after you've heard the poems. Let me know what you think. This poem is come as I was driving through Washington D.C. and thinking about so many of the people, native Washingtonians, who have been moved out of the city. And honestly, as I move through different cities all over the country, you see people who were born and raised in a place and gave our cities, their character, are now being displaced by market forces, right? And so this was a meditation around that, a thought around that, and the thought about where people go when they can't return to their homes, to the places that they built in the city. Extremities. This city used to mean us, signify a skin. Streets filled with blood and bloods meant us. We used to think of our city as a heart, the center of things. The point was to go and to come. We still like to think of it as a heart, not a foot or a fist formed against us, not a metaphor, not arteries and veins, but avenues, not capillaries, but highways that lead us to townships of blood, extremities. We be honest hands and feet, digits doing the hard and dirty work of the unthanked. We carry a message in our bodies. I am still here. The tingle down the arm means the city's body is speaking. What happens when blood cannot return home? What, what of the pound of flesh that pumps ignorant to its members, knowing nothing of commerce, of gentrifying blocks, of the body's displacement, or the silencing of loud memories? Our bodies say, we loud as we want to be in our house. Our handshakes are explosions, celebration, perhaps thanks for surviving the bullet and the bulldozer. A city shedding its skin. Our noise says, we still here, or we ain't going nowhere. Our colors are an imprint in our absence. We afterglow. The unexplained numb and smolder at the fingertips says, our blood, our sound is still needed here. So we talked about, like kind of this physical displacement that happens with in in uh in our physical world, in the built in world, in the built environment, and the places that we live. This kind of like displacement that happens. This next poem I'm going to read is kind of about what happens in the digital world. How are people erased or challenged or displaced in the digital world? So I'm going to read a quick poem here. It's called Born Digital. Born Digital is a term for things that are created and are originate in the digital world. Um, like this, like this experience now, this virtual experience of this festival. It's born digital. It's going to be in the digital world, and who knows what's going to happen to it when we're long gone from here. The way that everything gets archived and copied and duplicated. Born Digital. It's the name of this poem. If they could not disappear you, they and by they I mean we will erase, race, raise you. Unwrite your name from our news cycle memories. Tomorrow there will be someone else to forget, to pretend never existed, or worse, that you deserve to be disappeared, or whatever thorn of calamities cleaves to your flesh. We will make it biblical because it makes the lie last longer. We will make it be digital because we think hashtags are forever. Or perhaps we believe that a keystroke is a kind of mourning and that hard drives hold everything worth keeping. So this is a poem. This is kind of like, I'm a child of a musician. My father is a musician, and he played all kinds of music. He played, he played classical music, played jazz, soul, and so music factors heavy in my life. And I didn't really, you come into certain knowledge of yourself as you get a little bit older, and I didn't realize how important music was to me until I was probably, I don't know, in my 20s in college. um, because I would put on music and it would calm me and bring me, um, this kind of solace. And so given that uh, I'm a child of hip hop in a way, and so in hip hop is so many things. One of the things that it does do very well is there's a kind of collage aesthetic that comes with hip hop because it's bringing together so many different musical sources and cultural sources to make an artful musical expression. And so this poem is kind of like typifies that kind of mashup collage aesthetic. It's also inspired by a poet named Jacqueline Jones Lamont, who has this. She called it her three-strand twist, this kind of braiding technique where you take three different things and you kind of try to make a poem out of it, a cohesive thing. And so the three things that kind of came to me are there's a painting by a Washington Color School painter named Gene Davis. The painting is called Black Flowers. Um, and it's a really amazing painting. If I was thinking, I would have had it on my computer so I could share my screen with you. But you'll look it up and you'll check it out. And then the second element is 26 Ways of Looking at a Black Man by a poet named Raymond Patterson. Uh, Very important poet. Um, the book, the title of that poem is a book in which he writes about some of the riots that were going on in the 60s during the civil rights movement when you know people were turning water hoses on African Americans just trying to march peacefully for for their rights, right? And then the last obviously is 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird by Wallace Stevens. Um, And so I'm going to open, my poem is called 7 Ways of Looking at Black Flowers. And it opens with an epigraph, and it's part number 13 from Raymond Patterson's poem. What is more beautiful than black flowers, or the black men in fields gathering them? One, in what mellow tone do black flowers sing their blues? Black flowers like black hands colored, reaching toward a mystery up south. Black flowers, the gift of open palms, facing north, but rooted south. A man and a woman are one. A man and a woman and black flowers are dust. Against a sky white like fists full of sea island cotton, the sky raining blood on black flowers. In our world, the tongue speaks only a binary song, always a black flowering problem against a white canvas, blood in between. The sound possibilities of black flowers were choices made by the hands and breath and brass of a gifted man, looking inward, blood on his lips. Um, so this is a poem, and this is going to be my second to last poem. I think I'm going to read one more poem by Lucille Clifton to kind of like bookend my reading and hopefully just wrap it in this beautiful cocoon of Lucille Clifton's words. Um, this is a poem that I was trying to be humorous by the title, and then I kind of went somewhere else with it. But there's a reference in here. You all are intelligent people. I'm not going to insult your intelligence, but I do make some mentions of things that are DC related, um, And one of the references I make is to Paul Laurence Dunbar, who lived in Washington, D.C. For quite some time. And so I'm going to read on why I don't celebrate Halloween. And this is not true. I have children, so I do celebrate Halloween. It's just, you know, for the artifice of the poem, I was on why I don't celebrate Halloween. Because I don't need another mask. Every time I pass 4th Street, I think of Dunbar, grins and lies. Walking past the abandoned Fraser's Funeral Home on the corner, holding years of tears and sighs, takes me to my grandmother's home, Savannah, the second most haunted city in America, a city I have only seen once. In DC, are ghosts. There are enough ghosts to deal with in daylight. Sometimes I am one of them, invisible and feared at the same time. Here, I am like Ellison's protagonist, hiding in the belly of another fading chocolate city, Harlem. And me in my studio by the wharf, where the smell of delicious death is heavy on the skin and the tongue, and my bright yellow walls are just like the luster of his 1369 lights. Overlooking the Anacostia sits Cedar Hill, where I imagine the ghost of Frederick Douglass walking Martin Luther King Avenue. Only DC natives can see him, no matter how loudly he speaks of freedom or birthrights. Because fake blood over time erases the hurt of real blood. And because the surprise of blood not mine stirs something under my skin, a spectacle above even the revelry of guising. So yeah, I'm gonna close with a poem from like I said, from this collection, Lucille Clifton, How to Carry Water. It's a beautiful book. And this poem is located in North Carolina in 1999. It's called Libation. Libation, North Carolina, 1999. I offer to this ground this gin. I imagine an old man crying here, out of the overseer's sight, pushing his tongue through where a tooth would be if he were whole. The space aches where his tooth would be, where his land would be, his house, his wife, his son, his beautiful daughter. He wipes his sorrow from his cheek, then puts his thirsty finger to his thirsty tongue and licks the salt. I call a name that could be his. This offering is for you, old man. This salty ground. This gin. So that's Lucille Clifton. I'm Fred Joyner. Thank you so much for being a part of this festival. Share these links, share these poems, find these collections of all the poems, all the poets and poems that are reading in this festival. Find them. I guarantee you will be blessed. I want to send a big shout out to the Poets Council, to our elected officials at Town Council at here in Carrboro, North Carolina, who fund this festival, who actually invest in this festival. That's no small thing that a municipality will invest in poetry, invest in art in this way. And so I'm really thankful for that. I'm thankful to the poetry community here in Carrboro that has embraced me, even though I'm a newcomer. Um, I hope to continue to make you all proud as your poet laureate, and continue to do this work to bring poetry to Carrboro and infuse it into our lives. Thank you very much. Be blessed.